Welcome to the Plastic Adventures Podcast. I'm Doug, joined by Steve, and we like to talk about toys. A lot.
We're here to take you on a trip down memory lane, a fireside chat, if you will, about those little pieces of plastic that captured our hearts and imaginations.
So join us on this plastic adventure, and let's talk toys. Alright, so we're here for another episode of Plastic Adventure Podcast. What's today? Today is the 29th of September.
Yes.
In the evening, and we want to talk about something that we've touched on before. We've touched on it with the Mandalorian release figures, some of the Transformers, but it's something that Steve and I like to call retro done right. It's the one of the current trends in toy making right now, where the toy brands of old are re-releasing toys, vehicles, action figures in the old packaging and in the old figure vehicle style.
Or not just that. There is a lot of product out there which is made in a specific style like 5POA. A lot of the things we're seeing from Super 7. Different franchises that they've tried to reimagine, or Star Wars eyes, like the old Kenner figures. So we've got that. We've got some really cool Marvel Secret Wars styles figures out there too.
Yep. So it's a retro style, but not necessarily a retro figure.
Not a reissue.
There
Retro style.
You go.
Yeah.
Not a reissue.
Yep.
Retro style. So it's something that I've seen a lot in, and I have a very high opinion on what I think is retro done right and retro done wrong. And we have the big toy maker lines that have been with us, you and me, since the 80s, right? We have Mattel, we have Hasbro, we have some of the other ones that came around in the late 80s, like Playmates Toys, that have been around for a while, and they have these brands, and they've gone through various reiterations and various rebranding. And so to be your age, my age, 40, and seeing the old type of toys that we grew up with on the shelves, they know that's going to hit us in the nostalgia, and eventually that's going to hit us in my wallet.
Yeah, and they know that people getting to our age usually have a little bit more disposable income. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this is just custom tailored product directly towards us. And that saying, "Take my money," it probably has never been more apropos than our current toy market that we're in. But you know what? For every good one, there's something that's a real stinker. Just figures that just don't make any sense. Overdone.
So, let's talk about, and I know we've maybe touched on this a little bit before in some of our other talks, but we're going to talk about it today. So let's first talk about ones that we think are retro done right.
So real easy. Yeah, I mean, we got the Transformers reissues, the G1. Perfect example, probably number one best retro done right. They are packaging it exactly the same as they did, aside from the polystyrene tray insert, mm-hmm. which you had an extremely creative fix for. Super jealous. You can't do it more right than that. You walk down the toy aisle, and it's 1983 or 1985 all over again. Mm-hmm. You had the previous reissues from Toys R Us, and they just fell flat. You opened them up like books, and you had the toy sitting inside in a plastic tray, mm-hmm. and you had art from Dreamwave, which was just, for the time, dude, I ate those Dreamwave comics up. Mm-hmm. They were just made for fanboys and were full of fan service, and I was a boy and serviced, so to speak, by Dreamwave.
So we'll look at that example, that Transformers one. So I have a particular one, Perceptor. I have him in that 2004 book opening style. Now the figure is a perfect G1 recreation. There is no difference between him and the original G1 figure, at least not that I could see.
Yeah, maybe a few little safety things they might have done on firing missiles made them a little bit
Oh,
longer.
well,
but
maybe those,
like
but
the toy itself,
but the
for
fi-
all intents and purposes, 100% G1 toy reissue. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But when I look at the box, and I mean, it's got pretty art on it, and it's a good box. But if I'm not seeing the figure the way it's supposed to be seen, it doesn't hit me in that nostalgic feels the same way as seeing Blaster reissued in his original Blaster box with the G1 front and center, and I don't have to open anything to see it. He's right there.
No, it's the original painted art. It's the original explosion on the back of the packaging, the window box style. That is the difference from something being rad and something being like a must buy when you walk by it. And at the time, you would take these G1 reissues where you could get them.
Yep.
It had been years. We were starting to get some cool figures into the market with classics and Universe Generation, etc., etc. They were all like modernized versions, but seeing those old toys on the shelf again, I mean, it was super cool. But something just wasn't right. And when Walmart turned it around, aside from the heinous affront to all collectors, which was a $50 Optimus Prime with no trailer, that's the worst one they've done so far. Everything else has just been just on point, 100%.
Nothing worse than a missed opportunity. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yep.
And that's a missed opportunity. Anyway.
Yeah, you can buy the China reissues with the styrofoam for $40 shipped,
Which I did.
with a trailer, which I have too. And they're awesome, and they're made well. And Walmart gives me a Optimus Prime cab with like an extra gun, and it's $50 on a shrunken down box. The keystone to every Transformers collection amongst all these reissues, and it's in a freaking smaller box than like Hot Rod, for God's sake. So come on, man.
Yeah, but then you look at the reissue of Soundwave, which
Perfect.
is my favorite reissue so far. And like as Steve said, I had a very creative fix for the polystyrene tray, which the reissues come in a box that looks exactly like it, but the tray is clear and see-through, so you can see through the tray into the brown cardboard in the back. And I did not like that. So if you're okay with popping the tape on your box and opening your figure, what you can do is you can remove the figure and the accessories from the trays, make sure it's nice and clean, and flip the tray over and spray paint it white from the back, so that way the paint from the spray paint doesn't interact with the plastic of the figure, and you get little white specks or white stickies on them. You don't want that. But then that way you can put the figure back in the tray, and now it's white, looks like the styrofoam. You put it back in the box, and it pops. It looks so good. And it's something that you go, why didn't they do that in the first place? I mean, add a little bit of white to the mix, and you can have white styrofoam or white plastic trays, and everybody would have thought that was awesome.
Yeah, forgivable sin, but a super creative fix for that.
Absolutely forgivable.
And if anybody's out there on the fence about popping the tape on these toys, for one, that's a seal that you can break without buying a dinner. And for two, there's 100 million of these carded examples on eBay. If you're buying modern collectibles thinking that you got the next $500 Optimus Prime in package or $5,000 Mickey Mantle rookie card, you're nuts, man.
You don't have
Everybody collects now.
Yeah.
There will always be sealed examples. If you collect for love, it's a super creative way to fix that. But in my opinion, number one, retro done right, and there are some very, very close contenders.
There is. So in the retro done right column, in the ones that we think are done right, G1 Transformers definitely takes the cake for that one. Masters of the Universe Origins comes in very close, because not only are the figures close to the molds, but the packaging is spot on to the original. Aside from one or two little things like where it says new for 20, new for 21, it's in the same spot that it would say new on the originals. And the back, where the back is not quite, slight changes on the back, but not enough that it's like, oh, this is horrible. No, they're almost near perfect recreations of what we saw back in 1982. And so that would be a very clear contender for retro done right, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. And you look at the toys, and they're in that, like, somewhat... They're not as crouched as the original ones, but, I mean, you look at that, and there is nothing about that doesn't just scream Classics, Masters of the Universe, classic Motu, start to finish. And aside from a few little head sculpts or things that people have been whining about, they've saturated the colors on a few of them a little bit more, but God, these figures look great. I mean, this is the Classics line that should have been. And I'm sorry to you Classics collectors, but this is way better than Classics.
In my opinion, I love them more than Classics because they hit that nostalgia feel that I look for as a collector. I mean, why do I do this? It's because I want to feel the same way I did as a kid. And when I see things like toys and packages that I used to buy as a kid, that gives me that nostalgic feel. So that's what I want.
Yeah, we're buying back our memories.
Yeah.
And as good as Classics were, and as awesome as they were at the time, and as cool of accessories that they came with, I mean, Mattel knocked that out of the park. Origins is just like we said, retro done right, trademark.
Yep.
Hashtag whatever the kids want to do with
Put that on a T-shirt.
Make checks payable to Grumpy 40 something who can't computer or internet named Steve. Most definitely. I would like to submit the new Star Wars retro carded figures.
Yes.
They are not the original molds, but boy, they are so darn close.
They are very close to the original molds.
Yep. Aside from the obnoxious orange sticker on the front, the distressing that they've done to the package, you cannot walk down that toy aisle, and if you see them,
if
you see them, that is so memory evoking. I mean, we used to go to the department store, or in my case, I had a chain called Buttrey's, which was what I lived and died on as a kid, and it was a grocery store with a toy aisle, and there'd be 4 foot by 4 foot of these Star Wars and Empire and Return of the Jedi carded figures, just walls of them.
Just jam-packed.
And you could not figure out what to spend your allowance on in there.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So, the distressing part of it, I think it's all part of the, they're making sure that everybody knows that this is a reissue. They're trying to, say, hey, don't, they're doing their part for not making sure that somebody doesn't get duped in the secondary market, and that's cool. The retro sticker is very reminiscent of the, mail away for Boba Fett or mail away for Admiral Akbar, done in that same style. They would splash those on the cards and you'd buy them. But the molds of the figures are done very well. There are a few minor tweaks to the molds that makes me think that they re-sculpted them, or they took the original mold and maybe made a slight change or two to them. But
those original molds are probably well disintegrated by now.
Well, that's what I mean.
Maybe they 3D scanned some figures and smoothed it out in 3D, and this is what we came up with. Maybe they had some kind of a tool that scaled up or scaled down. But I mean, they're so darn close. You see one hanging on the pegs, and it's Christmas of 1978. Because 77, you couldn't have nothing except a box that promised that you got the toys.
The coupon.
Yep.
But no, let's take Bespin Luke, for example, for the mold. I've noticed, when you're looking at them, and if you're holding them out and you're looking at them, they're damn near identical. But there are, people like me look at the little details, and I've noticed there's an extra wrinkle on his right leg, or there's an extra divot on his shirt underneath his pocket. But those, like I said, those are very small. They're enough for me to recognize that it's slightly different from the original, but it looks 99.9% just like the original.
Oh, yeah. The accessories have the same neglect to detail that the old ones had.
Yeah, the bicycle handlebar lightsaber.
Yep, and they all have the same action feature. Put it in their hands and lose it in 8 seconds and never have it again. The car swallows it up. The carpet swallows it up. you walked in the grass and it swallows it up.
Gone.
So hey, they have that same action feature. So
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah, they stayed true to that. That was very, very nice of them. Okay, so some other retro.
Yeah.
Let's touch on some, real quick. So I think the Ghostbusters line was very, very close to the original. The newly reissued Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Are very close. Like I said before in the other one, that there's some slight differences on the back. I think the placing of where they put the story and the file card have swapped, or they're just a little bit different. But that's not neither here nor there, because the front of the card and the way that the figures are displayed, damn near identical.
Yeah. Slight color difference on Raphael for some reason, which has been consistent in all reissues. God knows. I think we talked about that a little bit last time, but perfect.
Yep.
You see those on the shelf, and that's Turtle Mania.
That's it.
It takes you right back to
88.
the cartoons, trying to get home after school to catch them. Just they're perfect.
And seeing them makes me really excited for those other characters that I hope we get to see. Like, I'm fairly certain we're going to see a Splinter and a Shredder and a Bebop and a Rocksteady. I mean, I think those ones are kind of givens.
Yeah,
But what
100%.
I'd really like to see, like I said, two of my favorite characters in the Turtle line are Metalhead and Yosagi Yojimbo. And so to get those on card again, even if they're not the original, but they're very close, sign me up. I'll buy them. I want them.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. I display them in a very specific manner, and I can really only fit another maybe 2 to 4 figures.
Yeah,
the way that I
you're
have
going to
them
have to buy
displayed.
another gondola shelving.
So, what's that going to be? Casey Jones, Shredder, Splinter. Then I got to pick Bebop or Rocksteady to go in there. So that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But that we're kind of getting a little ahead of ourselves. We don't know what's coming, but looking at those reissue packs that have come out, the 8 packs, that's pretty safe to say that's what's coming down the line in single pack for us. So
Yep. I think
anything
we're
beyond
safe
that, I'll
there.
take it. They're a really good price. About $13 a piece. Great figures to have in hand. They're excellent.
Very
And those
good.
real Ghostbusters reissues, perfect. You almost don't know the difference in the figures when they're out of package. You got any absolute retro gone wrong?
Yes, I do, actually. Very much so. G.I. Joe. Let's address the elephant in the room. G.I. Joe. That was a big WTF. And that was, what the fart. Because when you hear that they're going to be releasing a retro line, and before they had released them, we had already seen the retro Star Wars. There had been talk about the retro He-Man. I think we saw some sneak peek card art at that time before G.I. Joe hit the ground. And so they said, we're releasing a G.I. Joe retro line. And instantly, everybody started talking about, it's going to be so great to have an O-ring G.I. Joe on the card again. I'm so excited. And there was a lot of discussions about, how are they going to do that now? I mean, are they going to have to remove some of the things for safety, like the screws? But people were like, I would take if they glued them together. That's fine, as long as it was close to what the O-ring figure looked like and the feel of the packaging. People were ecstatic for it. And then
you went on to Hasbro Pulse, which is Hasbro's very excellent direct-to-fan marketing website. You buy your product directly.
They do have a good.
They have been very open, and it was a Fan First Friday. I remember because I watched it in the morning, and the designers, they're all fans too. Some of them probably potheads by the look of it. One lead designer couldn't keep his eyes open, and he kept saying the same thing. This is excellent or something. Anyhow, super good dude. He loves his toys. We're getting through some of the classified stuff, or a few like Snake Eyes previews, and then Retro was introduced, and it was like, didn't I just buy this thing in 25th? This is what it's going to be. And then they showed the packaging, and you just realized that this was some sort of like half retro, half 25th anniversary edition, bastardized with crappy mold version of the product. The packaging makes no sense. Some of the details make no sense. And when you did a line 10 years ago that looked better and that evoked more of a retro feel than what you're putting out now, that is like
big zero in the. It was.
Well,
you know, there have been a few times in the toy collecting hobby where I've felt let down from some of the lines or the issues that have come out, but I don't think I've ever felt as let down as I have about the retro G.I. Joe line. Now, that said, do I collect it? Yes, I do. And I like them for a few reasons. Now, I didn't pick up these modern sculpts when they were first done, so I'm okay. I can get that.
I'm not complaining about the bulk of the figures on the cards.
Yeah.
It's the presentation and the lack of attention to detail.
Exactly. Would I have preferred an O-ring style figure? Yes. That's what we wanted. It would go in line with my retro Star Wars, my retro He-Man, my retro Turtles, Ghostbusters, everything. It would fit perfectly. And why didn't we start with the original 16? Why did we start with... I mean, I get Snake Eyes was one of those, but why did we get Duke and Lady J and Roadblock? We got Stalker and Snake Eyes. We just finally got Grunt. Why don't we have Breaker and Zap and Rock and Roll? Rock and Roll, man. I mean...
Yeah, in a line of figures aimed directly at the older consumer, the niche market, they played it safe, and it seems like every Joe line starts with Cobra Commander, Destro, Storm Shadow, Baroness, and then on the other side we get Duke, we get Scarlet, we get Snake Eyes,
you get Roadblock,
and usually a Roadblock in there somewhere. That starts every line off. Everything that comes out has those core characters. It makes a difference if this is based on a children's show that's on TV, and like what's Transformers without an Optimus Prime?
Right.
But this is a very niche product marketed specifically at a target audience who consume the original product and love it.
And not only do we consume it, we know it.
Oh yeah.
All right? We
know
it, and knowing is half the battle.
Yep.
We know it so well, we can tell you the character's file, we can tell you when they were made, we can tell you the differences in the different molds and the paint and the accessories, and we know it very well. So when they announced that this was going to be the retro line, it was a big loss. It was a big loss in a time when retro was being done very right.
Oh, sure was. And the pack-ins didn't have to be anything more than what the original figures came with.
Yep.
You don't have to give Duke the same gun, but he just needed a rifle and a helmet and a backpack and binoculars. He certainly didn't need a strange cross bandolier thing and the Screaming Duke O-face because you guys were lazy and that was like the one mold you had access to. I mean, come on.
That's the Duke mold you picked?
That's the one.
That's the one you ran with?
I mean, that's the face I make when someone tells me the Impossible Whopper tastes like a regular Whopper. But okay, so that's a horrible figure. The Snake Eyes figure is quite cool, but he comes with like 500 accessories, and they have the wrong head packed in for the wrong art.
Yeah, the
Storm
wrong figure
Shadow,
for the
cool
wrong art.
figure, doesn't look like the card art. Too many extra pack-ins. I mean, these figures are just loaded down with a bunch of junk extra stuff, when really, if you wanted to do retro done right, they would have went the Star Wars 5 POA route.
Yep.
Give them what they originally came with, smaller bubble. The card art is insane. There's never been better card art since the 80s on anything.
And when you compare the card art and how it's laid out to what an original looked like, it's still very similar.
Yeah.
The drawing takes up the half of the card. The G.I. Joe is very large and prominent on top, and the figure is off to the left. But it's still bulky, still
Yeah,
big.
too many pack-ins.
Yeah, and I don't think that it was not what we were expecting, and I felt like it was a letdown. But that
No.
said, now I do have to say some of the things that I do like about the line. For instance, Stalker, Grunt, and the Cobra Officer, I think, are stellar molds of those figures. They
Yeah.
look great. I haven't taken them out of the package yet, but I'm assuming that they would pose beautifully. So I'm not opposed to those ones, because now I know what I'm expecting, by the way. When I'm looking at the G.I. Joe Retro line, I know what they're going to be.
Oh yeah, and I'm not complaining about the bulk of the molds because they're all lifted out of Pursuit of Cobra, 50th and 25th anniversary, which all had some just terrific molds. But it's the attention to detail that really disturbed me about the line, and the way that I thought they were going to go was going to be the Star Wars route, doing 5 points of articulation, and then we now have Super 7 handling those.
Yeah,
I had a
at
feeling
first, I
that's
told
what
you
it was
at
gonna
first
be.
I wasn't too sure about the Super 7 5.0 release, but then I look at them and I compare them to what the new ones are, and I'm like, I'm actually feeling those. I'm actually kind of liking them.
I think they're kind of cool, but by and large, this 5 points thing that Super 7's put out, I almost want to say that a lot of it is retro done wrong. I mean, they're all packaged to look like Star Wars figures, but I mean, some of the sculpting is so intentionally bad sculpted that thing wouldn't even have passed back in the day.
No.
I mean, some of the likenesses on the Star Wars figures were not very good back when they were producing them, but
Well, they were close enough that I knew that was Han Solo.
Yeah, revolutionary for the time, but yeah, I mean, I think they missed the mark on more of them that they hit. And they started off with that Aliens line, which is absolutely retro done right. It was the Aliens figures that were unreleased. I don't know why. Parents thought that a space alien biting holes in people's heads was a little too scary, so they scrapped the action figure line. Never
Come
came.
on, Mom.
yeah.
Just get it for me already.
Probably a little too scary, but they did have that 18-inch alien that came out, the one
Dude,
product.
that thing looked
cool figure. But yeah, so that was rad. And Escape from New York, loved those figures, even though they were a little bit wonky. Some things just look weird, man. The new Ninja Turtles don't look right. They don't translate well.
I still see those on pegs.
Yeah, the Transformers look okay. But,
Yeah, they did a Robotech release, which I thought was kind of
Stinks.
cool. Well, no, the robot. There was the robot, and then there was the action figure. And the robot, I liked the robot 5 point, but the action figure did not sit well with me. I bought the Marty McFly Super Set, that one. Oh my gosh, oh my god.
Does this go under the category of like immediate, sort of like buyer's remorse, like you walking out with the thing thinking, "Why did I buy it?" Or
Yeah.
do you like it?
No, I hate him. I hate him
Okay,
horrible.
yeah.
And then I bought the Predator, and disappointed in that one.
Yeah.
Disappointed. The one I did buy that I'm like, hey, I actually kind of like this one, is when they released the original series Star Trek figures, Kirk and Spock. And,
they reissued those?
Yeah, in Super 7.
Man.
And I picked up Spock, and I'm like, I love this. I love this guy. I love
How did
it.
I miss that?
Yeah, so...
Wait, that was from the motionless picture, though, right?
No, it was from the original series. The blue shirts, the yellow
Oh, the
shirts.
blue shirts. Yes, I've seen those. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking like movie-verse versions. Yeah, those were all pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, now, if I can get the ones from Star Trek 2, the Wrath of Khan,
Oh,
with the
yeah.
red uniforms
Yeah, that'd be sweet,
and Ricardo Montalban's...
Fake chest.
It wasn't fake. I just looked it up. It's real. Anyway,
They're lying. I'm a personal trainer. I
No,
know
man.
what I'm looking at.
Those were his real man moves. Those were his moves.
Underneath a prosthetic piece of plastic that the skin tone didn't even match his body.
All right. That's a future podcast
Fine.
topic. We'll talk about that later. But, okay, so retro done wrong. So one of the other things I was going to point out that I did kind of like about the G.I. Joe line was that they did give us the vehicles. And the original Black Hiss, I
Cool.
love that box. The Awe Striker, I'm not sure why they went with the Awe Striker and not the Vamp. Either way, the Vamp or the Awe Striker was good. they gave us the Fang, which, all right, but they gave us the
Fang
modern mold of the Fang, which I'm not too happy with. And they gave it with a new figure apparently, not any of the old GI Joes, but the figure is not a wow figure. It's
no, it's like what the hell?
yeah, it didn't stand out. But the Black Hiss Tank and the Awe Striker, very well done. Very, very reminiscent. Even if it's the newer, updated figures, the box art and everything, it looks good. It looks very good.
Well, I'm glad that you like the Black Hiss Tank, because they have a retro release 2004 blue Hiss Tank that you can now get that came out one wave after that. So
I probably will not get that
Big
unless it shows up on my doorstep from an anonymous donor who didn't want it. But I'm not going to go out searching for it. Okay, so other retros done wrong. So I'm going to throw one in here that might surprise you. So we put Transformers on the top of the list of the ones that were done right.
sure.
I'm going to throw Transformers on this one as well. The Transformers for the Headmasters.
Yep.
Okay, so they announced they were going to do the Headmasters. Everybody was excited for it. And then we got the molds from the Titans Returns or the Power of the Primes. And though those are good figures, and I still love them. I collect them. Yes, I got the boxes. Of course I did. I'm a nerd. But I still put that in the category of retro done wrong, because even though the box art is beautiful and the box art has the original Transformer look on them, the molds are not G1, which is what I want.
Yeah. What's interesting is the actual Headmasters, the figures themselves, were made to look like the cartoon. So you had the initial release of these in Titans Return, and they had heads that were kind of similar to the toy heads. So in this reissue, all of the Headmaster characters are meant to look like the cartoon. Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't look like the original toy. Mm-hmm. See, this is another wolf in sheep's clothing. Just like the G.I. Joe retro line, you've got retro packaging, but you've got a modern figure stuffed into it.
Yep.
And man, as cool as the packaging looks, I don't know if it was a thing where we were going through like a lull or something at Walmart and they didn't have retro product on the shelf, and they kept wanting to have these retro releases. Maybe they put that in there in the interim to kind of try and fill the gap.
I don't know.
But there was no Devastator and Hot Rod reissue anymore. There was no Optimus Prime.
I didn't
no
get to
Soundwave.
Grab the Devastator reissue, and I really wanted it.
$80, man. I don't.
Yeah, but man, that box looked beautiful. Yeah, but
So
anyway, but what I was hoping for when I heard that you were getting these for the next wave of retro reissues were the classic Headmasters. I mean, there was, what was cool about those Headmasters, the old ones? You would take their head, you transform it, you plug it into the body, and then there would be this strength, speed, and intelligence meter that was on their chest, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. I mean, not practical at all in any way, but it's a cool feature for a toy.
Yeah, super cool built-in play feature. And I mean, you had like pilots that the bodies turned into vehicles. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you had additional play features built in. Aside from a somewhat dubious name, only trumped by the name Fisto, Headmasters. Yes.
Steve, this is a family show.
Yes. Aside from the name, I thought it was a super cool line of figures. I liked it better than the Power Masters, but you're right. It would have been really cool to see those original molds
absolutely
in that packaging. For some reason, the Transformers retros have really slowed down. They took a vote not too long ago, maybe 6 months ago, on what the next reissue should be. So I think we're getting like Skywarp or Thundercracker.
Okay.
In that retro. It's just going to be Starscream in different colors.
Another Seeker. I wonder if there'll be an Autobot counterpart to that, like if it's just going to be Thundercracker or whatever, or if they'll put out like Jazz. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it's hard to say because Hasbro's excuse is that the molds are disintegrating. So what I would think,
I don't buy that. I don't buy that excuse, because if I have people in China or I have people here in America who can take one of their old G1s and create brand new molds based off of those figures and sell them Why the hell can't Hasbro?
A piece of industrial tooling is about $150,000. The metal dies and everything that make it. So I could see with this line, I mean, they're charging premium prices. Mm-hmm. And if they've already got existing tooling and all they got to do is do slight revamps to the boxes, it's a home run for them. They have the assets. But, so say that there's this supposed shortage. Well, look back to the Toys R Us reissues, which is 90% retro done wrong. The packaging was not good. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the extra tabs on the Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus. I didn't expect safety issues like the long stacks. They're mm-hmm. cut down for those reissues. Yep. But all of the Autobot cars came in just those stupid like book packaging. But, you had that Prowl mold. Mm-hmm. You had Jazz. You had several figures. I think Sideswipe made it in. Yeah, he did. He was one of the
I know that
releases too.
Blue Streak / Silver Streak did.
They did a Silver Streak, yes, and they did Smokescreen. So really, if that tooling is still in existence, then we do have a healthy backlog of retros that can be done. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a bunch of idiots like me who will pay $40 for a retro Prowl when it comes out, or $45. I won't. I actually, I have kind of a cool reissue, but you know what I mean. Those cars, we're going to be paying, $40 for Starscream or whatever that's going to be. We will buy it if it's there, and that tooling still should be in existence. Now, other figures maybe not so much. Maybe that's the reason why we haven't seen like an Ironhide and a Ratchet reissue, other than the fact that they can't figure out the head scenario. You get it anyways. Buy it anyways. Maybe the Dinobots. I mean, we've got all of these things mentioned. Mm-hmm. There's some terrific Chinese reissues of these, or knockoffs, that mm-hmm. you can buy. Mm-hmm. But I haven't really taken any of them out of the package to see if they're loosey-goosey here and there, any of the problems. But mm-hmm. It seems like there is enough to support this line if they're doing 1 or 2 characters a quarter into the foreseeable future. So we'll see. Maybe distribution woes and Hasbro needing to scale down what they're shipping and bulking it up. Who knows?
It would just be it would be nice to see the G1 reissues come back, the way that we were hoping they would be when we first heard about all of this. Yeah, there's
a market for it.
I would like to see the Dinobots. I think those are some of the best figures. The ones I got from you actually. They're great. What was those? The Titans Return or Power? No,
that was Power of the Primes.
Power of the Primes, where they combined into Volcanus, right? Yeah. Which, dude, when I was a kid, I always thought the Dinobots should be able to combine. That was a big thing. I'm like, there's enough of them. I think a big giant dinosaur robot would be epic.
I thought it would be cool until I saw Volcanicus and was like, leave the memories alone.
All right, so Steve and I are in different camps when it comes to Volcanicus love. He doesn't, I do. I think he's a great frickin' dinosaur robot.
Well, most of those Titans Returns, Power of the Primes combiners, they don't look right. Like, you have to mistransform the arms and leave the legs they are the way that they're supposed to be to get proportions correct. Otherwise, you got this core figure in the middle and it looks like what were those critters called that ran around in the Dark Crystal with the big long legs?
The Landstriders.
Yeah, Landstriders.
I'm a Dark Crystal fan.
Yeah, that's what those combiners look like. And Volcanicus is a hot, steaming pile of...
Stop it! Okay,
It was a good idea in development.
But the individual Dinobots, though...
Very cool.
Look very close.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously updated, but they look very close to their G1 counterparts. A lot of them transforming almost exactly the same way.
Well, would they be acceptable in retro-style packaging with those new figures? I say no on that.
No, Steve. No,
not at all. No.
Nope. Will I buy them? Yes, Steve.
Well, yeah. Yes.
Well, and see, and here's another thing, and I don't know if a lot of people agree with me on this philosophy. Even though it's not quite something I would like, buying it off the shelf is a way to keep the line alive.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I may not necessarily agree with how they're doing G.I. Joe Retro right now, but buying G.I. Joe Retro shows them that there is still a market for G.I. Joe. And hopefully in the future we get another G.I. Joe release. So I think doing that kind of shows them where it's like, hey, I'm still loyal to this line. I want this line to continue. And I shouldn't have to do that, but I think that that's it's a good way to keep these things going.
We're doing our part. Every time we buy a movie ticket to a disaster, like a G.I. Joe movie or a Transformers, every time we take the kids, every time we buy a horrible Bayverse Transformer for some kid for his birthday. I mean, as the collector's market, we are consuming the collector-driven products, but it's not enough. You got to support the line if you love it. Somehow, you've got to support it. Yeah.
And so, and then I know that there's other people on the other side of the argument who will say, you're buying crap. It's destroying what it is, and if you're buying this, they're going to think that this is what we want, and they're going to give us more of this crap.
Well,
I don't buy that philosophy. I think because the retro reissues have shown us differently, that they know that we're still out there, and they've given us reissues. They've given us reissues of the Masters and the Transformers and Star Wars, and so I think we do enough of our part. It'll stick around long enough for us to see what we do want.
Yeah, and all things looking forward, there's more for us. More of it coming. A lot of shipping woes right now and scaled back product lines, but I have got some news that I thought was pretty sweet about some upcoming product, and there's a very strong heartbeat for retro-inspired product, and it probably will be until we hit Social Security age. And then we won't have as much disposable income. So as soon as us 40-somethings turn like 65, they'll be like, oh shit, no one's buying.
No one's buying this.
No one's buying. All right, retro's done. Retro's done. They got to they either have to buy milk for $8 a gallon or the newest He-Man retro. I don't know, man. I can drink some
sell
water.
Off my collection when I hit 65. No one's going to buy it.
I can eat dry cereal. I'll get that He-Man. I won't buy the $8 gallon of milk.
Oh, goodness gracious. No. Okay, so, you said you had news.
Yeah. Last time we opened with a little bit of news, but, over the week, there's been some really neat stuff that comes up that I thought would be warranted in a news segment. I have a rotary phone. So... You shared a couple of things that were really cool. One of them I had seen a prototype of, and then one of them just blew my freaking mind. Absolutely, just head exploded. Centurions. Where did those come from? And they look like a 6-inch scale figure to me.
They were. Oh gosh, you're going to make me reach back into my phone.
You don't have to go back for research, but I mean, the initial thought looking at them, you had Jake... Ace and
okay, so they were something called Ramen Toys. Ramen Toys released a Centurion figures. Now, I haven't done a lot of research on these, so I don't know if they're like a third party lower or if there's somebody who calls themselves Ramen Toys and these are customs. I don't know, but what I did see blew my mind on those, and we were talking about toys that we would like to see come back.
Oh yeah.
And Centurions was right at the top of my list, and so when I saw that, I'm like, I gotta tell Steve right away.
I'd love some Inhumanoids, but ain't happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, you showed me these toys, and they're in plastic trays. These have to be early production samples. I mean, I don't internet like some people internet, but I stay fairly connected to a lot of these toy collecting websites. And I haven't seen anything about them. So this has got to be first stage, production line stuff. Ramen Toys, probably some third party, they got the license for it, just like that company that did the, what are they called, those? RoboForce, the robots with the suction cups. Yeah, there was a retro line of those.
Why do I like those guys so much? They're so lame.
Yeah, they're all like 50s inspired. They're not high on my Bring It Back list, but I had some as a kid. They're neat. So yeah, those Centurions are just totally kick-ass.
Gorgeous.
You shared the color pictures of HasLab Star Saber.
Yes.
Cool. Super cool. I'd seen the unpainted prototypes. If that figure screams Autobot leader to
I
me.
love that figure. I love that character.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we didn't get a lot of him. He showed up in later versions of Transformers.
Yeah, some minor character, totally just like to maintain a copyright, I'm sure.
But I know that over in Japan, he was a very big character
Mhm.
in their Transformer line.
Yep, had a whole 36 episode series.
Yep.
I want to say it was called Transformers Zone, and Starsaber was the lead character.
But man, I tell you what, that is such a cool figure, man.
Yeah.
To have those two guys, same height, same proportions to each other, and then have the what is it? It's Victory Leo.
Yep.
Victory Leo split apart and become Star Sabers.
Victory Saber.
Or Victory, yeah. And
Yep.
they become together, they become Victory Saber.
Yeah.
Such a great idea. In fact, I wish they would have done that more with other Transformers. Like, can you imagine a whole Transformer line where we have two that one is the main part and then the other figure is also, but he breaks apart and can become that other person's
did.
armor? They did?
They did. Yeah.
What am I
that
talking
whole
about
line
then?
of
Oh my
Transformers
gosh.
Zone. We missed out.
I had to have missed out on
Transformers ended for us with the Rebirth, which was season 4, and it was a few episodes in it. Right after season 3, we had Return of Optimus Prime, and then we had Rebirth, which was made specifically for the American audience to consume. Transformers was about done at that point for airing on TV. Well, Japan was like, screw that. These toys are still wildly popular. They had a series called The Headmasters, which took the place of Rebirth. They had a series following that was Super God Master Force, which is where all the Power Masters came from.
Super God Master Force.
Yes.
Man,
And then
that's a name.
Transformers Zone, post that. So, Starsaber was a very central figure in Transformers Zone. Just his design alone, you look at him and he has the Optimus Prime mouth plate, he's got the futuristic jet thing. He's rounded, but he's still square. So there was something about him that completely harkens back to G1. And you look at that character, put him next to Rodimus Prime, and tell me who looks like they should be leading the Autobots in some future iteration of Transformers.
Easy. Star Saber.
Rodimus is okay. He did his best. Ultra Magnus should have probably been the leader, but he can't deal with that now.
Not now that his head is cut off and on
Sweet.
Megatron's desk.
Who the hell knows? Really cool figure. I want to say it's about $150 because you get Starsaber and Victory Leo. A little bit pricey, but I don't know. It's got enough plastic. Maybe that's going to have damn near a Titan class figure amount of stuff that goes there. I mean, we've got these new like Commander classes that are $80, Skylynx and Rodimus Prime. So, very cool figure. I thought that was just terrific when I saw it, and then you
It
sent
looks
me
gorgeous.
the color pick, and it's an amazing toy.
Yeah. HasLab is doing some things that are pretty cool, actually.
Oh heck yeah, man! Their Star Wars and Transformers are just killing it.
They are. And you know what? That might be the future of the toy industry, where people like us, we pay up front for the thing that we want and hope we get enough backers. Kind of like Kickstarter,
Oh,
right? You just hope that...
I am so for a pre-order system, and then Hasbro batching up enough to fill all the pre-orders with what their retail commitments that they're going to send out. With the way that it's going right now, the supply issues, not getting enough of it on the shelves, it's created a horrible collector market. I think that'd be great. And these pre-orders, they guarantee that niche product that you normally wouldn't be able to get, like a 30-inch tall Unicron, G1 accurate, super cool, a bunch of extra cool stuff, guarantees you can get that if you want it.
Yep.
You can get that giant 3-foot-long Jabba the Hutt sail barge from Star Wars.
Not sure why you'd want that, but somebody did.
You can have the Razor Crest, only to have it destroyed in The Mandalorian, is like just after the pre-orders close on that toy.
Can you imagine if Hasbro says, "Hey, we're going to do a HasLab USS flag"?
Oh, I'm done.
How many people are going to jump on that?
Ah, God.
Would you, Steve? Am I going to have to come over to your house to play with your USS flag?
I can't. I mean, at one point, I'm very fortunate in the way that my pay structure works at work. I had flag money I don't got flag room.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who has flag
money.
room.
Flag money turned into she-shed money, so that got sent over to the mutual fund in the Rancier household. But I had it, and I could get a flag for $1,500 or $2,000. Biggest playset ever made, status symbol, but I can't bring myself to do it.
I can't either.
I have a few other really cool, rare things that I just love more than the flag. But we're kind of getting off. What I wanted to bring up, and we are running long on the podcast today, news just dropped of a whole bunch of Transformers SKUs for next year.
Oh.
And placeholders. We're going to be getting, so the line I believe is going to be referred to as Legacy. We're going to be getting a whole bunch of different characters from different timelines. But what kind of tickled me is Leader Class, Wave 1, Laser Optimus Prime. Okay?
With the glowy hands?
Yeah. Laser Optimus Prime. At Leader Class, you're going to get the trailer with it. I've not seen pictures, but you're paying $50. You're not just going to get cab of Laser Optimus Prime. You're going to get Laser Optimus Prime with everything. Now, I don't think
so. This is the G2 Optimus Prime. With the long. Okay.
Yeah, the Kenworth style rather than cab over engine truck design.
Right on.
So we got that. We've got some Insecticons coming in deluxe class.
Okay.
They've been very small to this point. We have a Skids, which I was banking on seeing one of those. A new Perceptor that's coming Q2. Just a really eclectic mix. But when I said earlier that Transformers, the stuff that for us is alive and well, it most certainly is. Mm-hmm. There's also doing something that they're referring to as Cybertron Metroplex. So I think what we're going to get is the Titan class Metroplex reissued in Cybertron colors.
Oh, cool!
White, blue, gray. If you look for the info, you'll find it out there. Very, very cool though. I mean, there was just a ton of like collector-based things that are collector-desired figures coming. I don't know if this is going to be a series where they're going to come up with some storyline where all of these different divergent continuities end up clashing, but really good news for Transformers collectors. Wish I could say the same for G.I. Joe, but
we're muddling through.
Yeah, Snake Eyes was just unfortunate timing. You had had all the product launched with Snake Eyes the movie, and it was in theaters, and there was no pandemic. We would have had a better response to product.
I think so.
But it was just ill-timed. Classified was supposed to launch with it, and everything became orphan SKUs. All of these retro figures and all that cool stuff it was just kind of spattered where it came out. So
yeah.
I think they're going to regroup. There's a whole host of classified stuff coming next year, so it's strong.
I hope next year, the world kind of calms down a little bit and we kind of start our road to recovery. We start going back to normal a little bit. I really hope we do, and I really hope that as collectors, we start to see the hobby. And the amount of toys that are available start bouncing back. I hope next year is a better year for us.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It would certainly help. I mean, Hasbro and Mattel, if you're listening, we're here. All of those Walmarts that didn't get Masters of the Universe Origins, waves 2 through 5, or they got one case. I mean, we're here, man. We want to buy.
I got enough He-Man and Skeletor on the shelves to last me a lifetime.
Yeah, you missed
Just show me a
missed out
Faces,
on your
please.
Zodak wave and all kinds of other ones. You got a one-off, a single case in a Walmart, and then that's all they get. So, lots of cool stuff coming out of Masterverse, which is where our Revelations figures come from. Yeah, Viking He-Man, Viking Skeletor, or
I want to see
some kind of a thing, Roman Skeletor. But there's a whole bunch of new SKUs without toys shown, and that's going to be a real neat line too. Everybody who's complaining about Revelations or the designs, I thought that was a great He-Man.
Oh,
we got so
no
much
problem
cool
with
stuff,
the cartoon or the design of them. I mean, they look great.
Yeah, the Revelations figures are good figures.
Yeah,
they skip chest day, or back day. I can excuse that because the gear covers it up, but
all in all, they're great figures, And you say what you want about the cartoon itself. You either liked it, you didn't. That's neither here nor there because it's first and foremost, it's a toy line.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so if the figures look like how we want them to look, it's a success because I'm going to collect it.
Well, yeah, and we are so lucky right now, so lucky that we have media for Masters. We've got this Revelations that's supposed to be for the older generation. We've got this wacky looking new cartoon for the little kids. We've got live action She-Ra happening over at Amazon.
I thought they killed that.
Oh, I have not heard it, but
I'm going to have to look that up.
Okay.
I remember hearing something about it. But it's out there.
yeah,
It's
I mean we got He-Man getting back into mass media like up front, so that's great for everybody, collectors alike.
Yep.
I hate the Michael Bay Transformers, but it's great for the franchise. For every
Agreed.
crummy looking thing that some child can't transform, there's two things that come out for me.
Yep.
And other lines. So it's a great sign, and G.I. Joe continuing and pushing on, great for us Joe fans.
Yeah.
Transformers, He-Man, really strong. Obviously, Turtles have new projects coming. For
Turtles is one of those brands that just never goes away because, no matter how many times it reinvents itself, it's still all part of Turtles.
Always
right?
cool, man. The ones that stick around have something special.
Yeah. Yep, they do. All right, so we covered retro done right. I think we kind of went off the beaten path a little bit about some other things, but that's our podcast for today.
Yeah. So how about this? At some point, we're going to be in some place where you can leave comments.
Yeah.
How does everybody out there feel about it? What are your favorite retros? What do you think the worst retros are? What do you think doesn't belong? We're interested to find out. So interact, and if this is a place where you can leave a comment below, then leave a comment.
Yeah. Let us know what toys you'd like to see back on the shelves too. Man, put Visionaries back out there, or
That'd be cool.
Oh gosh, like what'd you say, Inhumanoids. Yeah, let's see some of that stuff. All right, well, hopefully there's at least one listener out there listening to this. Maybe you downloaded it
on accident,
thinking it was something else.
Plastic Adventures. You thought it was about professional models.
But either way, hopefully we get some listeners, and maybe when we start putting these things on the web, we'll get some comments. And with that, we'll say thank you, and until the next time.
See ya.
See ya.